All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening,
Evening or
whatever.
anything.
Yeah, we're in the time zone here. We're in the time loop here. We have, of course, TGT Media is the entertainment. God damn that freaking bird. TGT Media, the entertainment industry interview show, where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, music, and video game industry. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt, and the co-host chirping away is Petey, the fucking cocktail that's been quiet for over 15 hours. Besides the trip now. We are, of course, joined today on episode 323, something like that, with a very talented comic creator and artist of his own right. A man that has been in comics for almost 2 decades now, and we have, of course, known as Doc Carlo S San Juan, Dr. Carlo S San Juan, of course, from Callous Comics. How you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again, and it's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, you sound great. You look great, and first off, congratulations. 17 years in comics is amazing. That's amazing. That's astounding.
Thanks. Well, it was a journey that was, while it was long, the workload in a lot of those years wasn't really that much because, but anyway, yeah, thank you very much.
You could have kept going.
It's been 17 years, and just thinking about from where the series began and where it is now, it's quite overwhelming on how much has been accomplished for the series.
Definitely, your style has grown in all of that time. Your characters have come and gone. You've evolved from your art as well as your writing too. I mean, how have you stayed sane?
Well, that's the thing. It's the comics that it's a comic that's keeping me sane. As you know, my day job is being a full-time physician, and it can get pretty depressing and all that, especially in my line, my actual specialty. So, if I didn't do the comic, I think I'd go nuts. Added to that, I'm also a husband and a father and all that, and that alone will drive a guy insane. And adding my actual occupation to that, the comic helps a lot in helping me to look at the lighter side of life.
The one thing that I find interesting is that, I know you go to conventions, I know you show your books, but I think this is the first time that I've ever heard you say that you've done a panel that by yourself.
Yeah. It was a surprise to me as well, because I don't think I'm really that big a name even here in the Philippines. But I got a Facebook message from one of the organizers of the of Comic-Con that's spelled with a K, as it is in the traditional Philippine alphabet, and I was surprised. Like, you want me to talk about my journey as a comic artist, and of course I accepted it. I'm not going to turn it down, but I was quite surprised because who am I? I didn't think I was anyone big even here, so. It was both an honor and a pleasure to do that.
So, what did you talk about? Because, I mean, for myself, dealing with people on a one-on-one basis is not a problem. But when you're dealing with a room of however many hundreds of thousands of people that are sitting there,
well, for one thing, it's not that big a convention. The convention was for all the. It's actually called the Grand Independent Comics Market. So it's geared specifically toward people who are independently producing their comics, and I guess they found my journey they first met me as a webcomic, and they found my journey from webcomics to the newspaper as a big deal, and I find it to be that as well. But they asked me to talk about my journey from online to print, And but when the time for writing the actual talk arrived, I realized that I can't just talk about from my time starting off as a webcomic. I really had to start from all the way in the beginning, 17 years ago, and so it ended up being a pretty long talk. I asked them, should I make a presentation? Should I make it, or is it just a sit down with someone interviewing me, mic to mic and all that? And they said like, oh, if you can make like a presentation, that'd be fantastic. So okay, so I spent the time to make a PowerPoint. It ended up looking like a classroom lecture. And so I was kind of worried that it would be a bit boring. So I tried to make it more interesting than I felt it really was. and in the end, I got pretty good feedback, and it was amazing actually, standing up there on stage and looking out into the audience. And usually in these panels, when I'm like at a table and trying to promote my brand and sell my books and all that, and there's a lecture going on, I usually don't really pay attention to it. And because I'm trying to do my own thing, unless there's no one at my table, then I do try to pay attention to what's going on. But whenever I'd look up at the whole exhibition hall, I noticed like people at the very far end lined up at the far wall, and they're all standing up from their table and trying to pay attention to what I'm saying. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And at the same time, it was a bit, kind of made me a bit more nervous because, okay, you're really trying to get something out of what I'm trying to say. So that's good. And it adds a bit of pressure in what I was doing. And, but overall, yeah, it was an amazing experience. When I stepped down from the stage, people were going up to me saying how great my talk was and all that, and how inspiring it was. And, it felt good.
Well, that's good. I mean, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours, like the whole day.
No, my talk?
Yeah.
No, it was less than an hour. And, so when my presentation ended, I actually stood there for like a few seconds thinking that there would be an open forum, like people could ask questions. And, it turned out there wasn't. So, all right, I'm out of here, stepping down from the stage, going back to my table. So, it was nice. But yeah, people would come up to me, to my table, unfortunately not to buy a book, but to ask questions. So, but that was nice too.
Buy a book, I'll answer your questions. As I'm signing. Got to take that extra promotion that you had there going and just say, yeah, if you saw my lecture, a book is half off. There you go. And I'll sign it for you. All right.
And as you cameoed in my lecture, and you were actually the very first screen after the title. And so just so you know, I'll probably upload what video we had. But yeah, you had that little picture with you holding up a sign saying "Hi, Indieket," and they got a big kick out of that. And when the thing you usually say to all your guests, right? If you can't talk about yourself for hours, you're in the wrong business and all that. They got a big laugh out of that too, and it was nice.
That's trademark, by the way. But because you're such a good friend, I decided to let you use it.
Well, I attributed it to you anyway.
No, that's good. I always find it interesting that you've done this for so long. Your passion has been consistent all the way through, no matter of going into med school, being a doctor as you are, being a family man. You've been very successful in your life, at least from my point of view. But do you consider yourself successful?
Maybe as a comic artist, I'm more successful than most, I guess, because I'm at what many people would consider the end, the end goal, which is to make it into a national newspaper. I mean, every time I think about that, that's such an amazing achievement. And thinking about how many artists want to be there, I can't really take it lightly. And but remembering where I came from and knowing that there are many people who are starting off at the same place. The what do you call this? The philosophy of being a doctor does kind of go in, wherein you have to pass on that knowledge, and so having the opportunity to stand on stage and to tell everyone my journey and how I actually went into a little bit of detail in what I did, and having that chance to pass on my experiences and knowledge and how to get there. I think that's a pretty great thing to do.
What were some of the questions that you were being asked while you were at your table and no one was buying your book?
A lot of the usual questions were, even if I didn't have a panel, the usual questions I get were, how do you manage your time? How do you and those are big questions, by the way. Sometimes I have trouble answering that, but essentially, it's all a lot about how I manage my time, how I stay sane, as you asked me earlier, and a lot of how I did it. So a lot of those questions were actually answered in the during the panel, and that sort of says how well people were paying attention. But it's understandable because people were trying to promote their stuff at their tables. So I took nothing against that. But apart from questions, people were just going up and saying that they loved the talk. There were people who were sitting on the floor in front of the stage, just trying to take it all in, and that was a pretty overwhelming experience for me. And but overall, it was great, and it gave me, of course, a chance to promote my comic, which is always a good thing. And I even had a chance to promote TGT, which is good too.
I like that. Yeah.
And it was just I've run out of superlatives on how to describe the experience. It was just great.
So I guess then the question is, now that you've gotten into a panel, now that you've gotten to a very large comic convention, where do you go from here? What's that next goal?
Well, my next goal actually is to convention-wise, is to somehow find a way to get into one in the United States, because although I'm doing well here, relatively well here in the Philippines, when it comes to the webcomic, a majority of my hits are still coming from the US. So I would really, really, really want to be in a convention there. Although I've run into a lot of annoying blocks in trying to get that table. Like for next year, I actually considered the Emerald City Comic Con. It is location-wise, it is the most feasible for me. I mean, it's on the West Coast, and flying there won't be so hard. It's just a trans-Pacific flight. Although that's no small thing. But then, yeah, they wanted some tax thing that I didn't really understand, and by me not understanding, you'd realize that I don't have what they want. So I couldn't get a table there. Intervention is still a goal. I think it's actually relatively easier to get a table there. But the logistics of me ending up there, it's kind of overwhelming too. I don't know anyone in the area to stay with. I have a lot of friends and family on the West Coast, so conventions there would have been easier for me logistics wise, but these weird tax things, I don't understand them.
try to go to Vancouver or BC or something like that.
Canada. Yeah. Canada would be great, actually. It's just the getting there is tougher for me to as opposed to a place in the West Coast. I do have family in New York, but judging from what I hear on getting an Artist Alley table in NYCC, it's pretty unlikely for me now. If it was unlikely for me before, it's less likely for me now.
You almost have to do it just as they announce it type thing if you were really planning on it. So.
Even that, I think, even if you submit like immediately after they announce it, I think because the selection process is a mystery. So, and and another thing I'm considering is C2E2, which you apparently go to a lot, and so we'll see about that. What else am I considering?
Well, there's also Fan Expo in Toronto as well, but I mean, at least for them, if you get a table, well, I think similar to New York and all that other stuff, if you purchase a table, even a half table, at least you're sort of considered.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, another thing is tables in conventions in North America are far, far more expensive than they are here in Asia, and I don't know why that is. The only exception I think would be the Singapore Comic Con, which I am going to, and because their table rates are exactly the same, the currency converted to that of say New York or no, not San Diego, but New York or or Chicago, and but then the flight is a lot cheaper to get there from here.
yeah, you don't have to worry about a trans-Pacific flight.
It's just a trans-sea flight, whatever sea that is, and other future plans. Well, I am currently producing a little animated short as a public service announcement, a PSA. Those little cute little PSAs when we were kids. Like, don't chew with your mouth full and stuff like that. So I'm producing a little short on what do you call this? The proper of hand washing. It's to be launched in one of the hospitals I'm working in. That's Carlos Santos Medical Center, and it's for their infection control week. So during last year's infection control week, I approached the organizers, which is the infection control department of the hospital, and I said, "Hey, I work in the Manila Bulletin. I'm one of their cartoonists, and I'm curious if you need any, like, say, cartoons for their brochures and handouts, on proper infection control and all that." And when we eventually got into a meeting earlier this year, our minds went nuts, and you know what? I'll make a cartoon. I did delve into animation when I was in high school. I did a lot of stop motion shorts with the little clay figures and my GI Joes and all that, and so I thought, it's feasible. I could do it. I was in the voice acting community as well. Maybe I can get some voice actors to voice the two characters that I have, and we'll see what happens. And so they were pretty excited about it. They gave me a little gift, which was a ball pen and a notepad, and so that's currently in production. Unfortunately, I can't afford to hire an animation team, so I'm doing it myself. But it's pretty crappy. It's like Schoolhouse Rock kind of atmosphere, which is still nice. I still enjoy those little cartoons from my youth, and that's actually what I'm trying to. That's the flavor of the short that I'm trying to produce. It's really simple and easy to take in, and I'm trying to relay information anyway, so it has to be easy to take in, and so there. And other future plans I have is I'm delving into spoiler territory here.
I like those ever so often.
I guess all I can say is it's in the realm of live action, and I'm working with a director who was a friend of mine from high school, and he's actually in that world. And we met once, and I said, what can we do with my comic? And we threw out some ideas, and there's one that we stuck with. It's pretty simple. That's all I'll say. And but it is in live action, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I could see some of your the fantasy world of Callous Comics. I could see that being a live action more so than a real world. I think.
Oh well, I'm not going that far yet.
Oh, come on!
It will be set in the hospital, but yeah, the fantasy aspect of Callous Comics was actually, it was just done on a whim way back in 2010, I believe, and but it had a following all its own. So based on the feedback I got online, I decided to put it into print. It had its own book. It was the Land of the Guardians, the first storyline, and a lot of people ate it up, and they were demanding me to make a sequel, so I did. That was On Lighter Dreams, and it continued. But unfortunately, now that I'm in the newspaper, and it is it's paying work, and I have to produce the gag strips more than I do need to make another fantasy storyline. I don't think I'll be able to do those at least by myself anymore. So what, I guess this is future plans as well. There's still a part of me that wants to write that stuff. So, I do have a storyline all penciled out right now. And, I'm just looking for an artist. There were a couple that were interested, during the convention. And just one more, this morning through Facebook. And, so we'll see. I don't want them to walk away without being paid, although some have offered to do it for free, but I just don't feel right about that because it does require a lot of work and commitment to do this storyline. And they are better artists than I am, so I'm sure it'll take a lot of their time. So I am finding a way for them to get some revenue somehow, whether it's through profit sharing from the book, which is probably what I'll do, or paying them up front, which is something I'm less inclined to do. But if it had to come to that, I'd probably do it. And I'm also coming out with another compilation book, which is still self-published. I announced it on Facebook as well. Bring the Rain is the next book, and it's been a while actually since I compiled the strips, so there are a lot, and it may have to come to the point where I'd have to select the strips this time that I put in, which is good. I mean, it'll be a good quality book then.
Sorry.
Sorry.
That's a mashup of your favorite comics, or is it part of a series?
It's a collection of gag strips that I published online and in the Manila Bulletin from the last gag strip that I published in print. So I'd say it's gag strips from 2011 to 2013.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's quite a lot I can't publish them all, otherwise the book would be too expensive. My being an independent book is it still limits the price I can put on the book. Oh, well, anyway, you'd want your book to be as cheap as possible while taking a good profit. But the thing is, independent comic books here in the Philippines, you can buy them from 20 to 40 pesos sometimes, and that's, I guess, it's less than $1. So yeah, and my first book actually is sold in around $3 US per book, and that's with profit. And now that my books are becoming more expensive, because I do seek out for better quality printers, better quality paper, and all that. And I see it happening as well in comics in general in the independent scene here. A typical comic book now would be, I'd say, around 100 or 150 pesos, somewhere in between that. And that's because people really stepped up their quality since the time I began. And so in essence, I'm stepping my quality up as well. But the unfortunate thing that will happen is the cost of the book would increase. And so there. You're right.
Yeah. didn't know if it was a sneeze or a yawn. And I was just, not you, it's me. It's definitely not you at all. Well, see, I'm glad a lot of positive things are happening for you. I really do. One of the questions. No, wait. Sorry, I'm losing my mind here.
It's infectious. It goes through. My insanity goes through Skype.
Get out of my head. Did I ask you questions about the documentary, or about my documentary to you, or no?
About what? Sorry.
The documentary I'm putting together for.
Yeah.
Did I ask you those questions already?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good. See, I haven't compiled that video yet. That's what I was.
All right. How was it going, by the way?
It's good. Now that I'm able to go to Fan Expo Canada as press, rather than being denied twice like I was, that was the whole cluster. And on top of that, I ended up buying 2 packages of deluxe tickets, 4-day tickets to the convention. And then I get an email not 2 minutes later saying, "Oh yeah, you've been accepted as press." So I'm out about $244 because they won't refund my money because it's non-refundable. Even though I just purchased it, even though I just emailed them saying I need to cancel them, I haven't heard back from them. I got to call them. But I'm going. That's the main thing. So the second half of filming, the more important half of filming, is going ahead. I'm going to have 2 cameras available to me, a primary and a secondary. The audio is going to be beautiful. The tie-in with the Skype interviews, everything like that. These types of questions, everything's coming together. That's the main thing. And it's still going to take another year and a little bit to get it all put together. So.
But hey, yeah, at least you're moving forward. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you're part of it. I'm glad that, you took the time to answer the questions here. And, overall though, from when we last talked a couple of months back to now, what else are you going to do to keep yourself relevant in the comic industry?
Basically still as much as possible. And I do this as a marketing thing, but just keep myself visible. So any convention that pops up, I try to get in. Still, I do like to stay relevant in the independent scene, and seeing a lot of these comic artists pop up, and it's pretty exciting. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but back in the 70s, actually, the Philippine comics were pretty big. Marvel and DC were picking up artists from the Philippines a lot. We have Alfredo Alcala and all that, and Jun Lofamia, and but I'd say in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, the comic industry here really came close to death. Publishers, comic-specific publishers, went out of business. There was no future for kids like myself who wanted to get into the comic industry, even locally. And but every now and then you would get your Will Spartacio, who would be going into Marvel, and he was actually quite instrumental in getting several artists from the Philippines back into the mainstream. Lionel Yu probably is one of the more prominent ones. And nowadays you have a whole slew of Filipino artists in the mainstream comic industry. Steven Segovia, Carlo Pagulayan, and Miko Swayan. There's just there are a lot. I can't even think of them all right now. And but that actually led to the rebirth of the industry here in my country, and being considered, at least when it comes to comic strips, being considered one of those who helped one of the many, of course, who helped bring it up from the ashes, I guess. It's a nice feeling, and to see more and more people coming in trying to get their independent titles out. Because seriously, the independent comic industry here in the Philippines is bigger than the mainstream, which is kind of weird for me to say. But yeah, it's been considered widely that the independent comic scene here in the Philippines is the heart and soul of all of comics here. Our characters are actually quite widely recognized now, which is funny. I remember one instance of going into a coffee shop and having to pay with my credit card because I didn't really have cash on me, and the barista actually recognized my name, and it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, I made it. Because like, oh man, you recognize my name? That's amazing. And then she was all talking about certain comic strips that she liked that she saw in the newspaper, and like, I was like close to tears. I was like, wow, really? And
did she get you to sign anything?
That was her mistake. No, she didn't. Unfortunately, this this coffee place was not one of my usual ones. I was in a different part of Metro Manila, and I haven't gone back since. And I wonder if she thinks that she scared me off. She didn't. If she's listening to this, it's just I'm not from that area.
You should stop in and bring a book and say, sign it. Here you go.
Yeah, I plan to do that if I ever do go back there, and or if she's still working there actually, and we'll see. But yeah, that was like quite an experience. Something that I would dream about, but never thought would happen.
Do you ever gather any of your local comic artists or webcomic people that are around your area and just kind of do like the old drink and draw where you just go to a location and just draw for an hour or so?
We drink. I don't know about what can I say? Filipinos, we do love to drink, really, and I don't know if we got it from our time under being a U.S. colony or whatever, but yeah, it's in our culture. We love to drink. We love coffee as well, and what I've been trying to do, I'm part of this group called Indie Comics Manila, and I've been trying to arrange a meeting every month, not necessarily for drinking, but just to have a little powwow on how we can further the industry. And I actually got this idea from a group of webcomic artists who meet every now and then. Denver Brewbreaker is one of them, and we're a little. We're a little group. Obviously, I can't go to the meetings because they're pretty far away, and but based on their efforts, I've decided to try to do it here as well, and I do want to mention the group. We call ourselves the Comic Creators Mini Group, and Don Griffin's one of them. Denver Brewbreaker, Steve Ogden. I'm going to forget people. I'm sorry. Wouter. I can't pronounce his last name. Oh my God. Who else is there? Lee Cherolis.
Cherolis, yeah.
Cherolis, sorry. Butchered his last name, sorry.
I'm
a foreigner. I can't speak English.
I'm Canadian and I still butcher it. It's okay.
Oh gosh, who else is there? And everyone else was there. I'm sorry if I forgot you. It's early morning. And yeah, so Chella Morgan, I do have to mention her because she was one of the proponents of that move. And but the gatherings were to talk about, share knowledge and how to make comics, of course. And so based off of their efforts, I did try to do the same thing here. And we've had a few meetings, and we've actually arranged get some people to give lectures to aspiring comic artists for a small fee. Although we let the Comic-Con group organize that when it comes to the actual event, but at least when it came to the conceptual stage, me and Indie Comics Manila were part of it. And we do have more plans in store for the future. A lot of geeky stuff, really, but the thing is, since we're just a group, we're not a real organization, and we don't have any funds. We do rely on outside parties to help get things together. So being a part of the whole revival of the industry here, it's quite an amazing feeling. And actually meeting artists who work for Marvel and DC and Image Comics, it's quite an experience, something I never thought I'd be able to do. And one funny thing is, although speaking of Lionel Yu earlier, although we're both from the same country, we actually met in the Singapore Comic-Con, which we it was just, how come we met here and not in our own country? And but eventually, a few conventions later, we did see each other in a convention here in the Philippines. And, oh, finally, I see you here. So that was nice. And we still converse a little bit over Twitter and all that. I have yet to meet a lot of the other, particularly the newer ones. Dexter Soy, he draws for Captain Marvel now, I think. And so yeah, the newer ones I still have yet to meet. One very famous name in our comic industry is Jerry Alangilan. He did a comic called Elmer, which is about chickens who talk. And but yeah, you think about it, what's that comic about? But it's actually a really brilliant comic. It won awards in France. I can't pronounce the name of the award, and he's an inker also for Marvel, I believe. He does the Incredible Hulk, I think, and for Mark Miller's Super Crooks, he's also the inker there. And but he has been a big push towards the industry growing here in the Philippines again, and he's a big inspiration to a lot of kids, and he's an all-around nice guy. So there are a lot of people. What I'm trying to say is there are a lot of people who are really trying to revive comics here in my country. Being a part of it is an honor and a huge responsibility as well.
Cool. Good stuff. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you'd love to let the watchers and listeners of the show know about?
Well, there's this tournament I'm apparently of.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on making it to round 2, by the way.
I don't know how we'll fare against the Super Fogies. I mean, that's a great comic with a huge following. We're a little mouse, literally and figurative. And
hey, so if you win, you win. If you don't, you don't. I mean, already a couple of the big names have been knocked out of the first round. So,
oh, it's surprising. But I don't think I'll be able to beat the Super Fogies. I mean, that's a big comic to go up against. I mean, I'm remembering last year. Oh, the last tournament I was in. That battle we had with Alex Heberling. Crazy.
She got knocked out, so I think she's waiting until next tournament because she's in that one as well. Like she's.
Oh really?
Yeah.
She got knocked out of this one?
Yeah, she did.
Hey.
Yeah, it surprised me. So,
Yeah, I thought her. Oh well, the thing is, yeah, you can't vote every hour anymore, right? It's a.
Yeah, it's something with the new plugin I use. You can only vote once per round.
Really?
Yeah. So that something new happened with my other plugin. It couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't loading up. So
Yeah.
I grabbed the next best thing.
That's a big factor, though.
It is.
Yeah, you can only vote once. So, but it's actually a better reflection of your readership, I guess. But yeah, you have those passionate people who really do vote every hour back then. So that's a shame to lose that
functionality. Yeah, I know. Maybe an update down the road it'll fix it. I wish I could have tested it out a lot sooner than I did, but stuff happens. But as always, Carlo, I really appreciate you taking the time to do the show and come back on here. I'm glad that you had a wonderful time at
Indieket.
Indieket, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce people's names and I can't pronounce a comic convention. So, hey, is it win on both sides?
Yeah, it's just a cute mashup of independent comics market, so Indieket.
It's not too bad, actually.
It's a cute name.
It is, yeah. Like Intervention, same thing,
Oh, right.
But for geeks. No, that's awesome. I hope that yourself, you keep going another 20 plus years in the industry. I'd love to see you keep doing that, or whatever other projects come down the pipe. And as always, you're always welcome on the show. You always can come back on as a co-host. I don't know why people aren't coming back on as co-host, but I know you'd always be welcome back as always. So.
Oh well, I enjoy it. I like talking to. It's not every day I get to talk about comics, with anybody. My wife, she's supportive, but she's not really into it, so I can't really talk about it with her. And so being on your show, it gives me an opportunity to geek out, and to meet new creators. So it's a great opportunity every time I'm on your show.
Well, no, either way, I always appreciate it there. And unfortunately, I have to say that ends episode 323.
Wow, 300?
323, yeah. And that's just the TGT Media show itself. I mean, the interviews I've done at comic conventions, I'm actually nearing the 600 mark in total. So I think I have to totally readjust all of my numbers. And
so your interviews aren't counted as an episode of TGT?
The video interviews, no. I don't know why I didn't do that, but I think it was something to do with the formatting aspect of it. I think
okay.
Comic conventions are, they're interviews, but it is what it is.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that ends this show. That's actually going to be the final episode of August here. So congratulations, Carl. Appreciate it. Because I have to prep for final exams in interest psychology, as well as the day after the convention, the day after my finals are done, I'm heading right to Fan Expo. So I'm driving.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'm driving to up to 401 all the way up to Toronto, and I'm getting ready for this comic convention. And then
good luck with your exams.
Oh, yeah, I gotta. I should probably.
I know the feeling, man.
I should probably open the book.
Before we go, could I just plug my next two conventions?
By all means,
okay,
please do.
Yeah, because August is a crazy month for me. I just ended one convention, that's Indieket, and next weekend I actually have one more in Cebu, which I have to fly to. Cebu is in the southernmost major island of the Philippines, and I actually have to fly there. And so people are listening from Cebu City. I'll be there at the Cebu Comics convention. And later on in the month, I'll be flying to Singapore for the Singapore Toy Games and Comic Convention. So if there are any listeners from Singapore or people who will be there, it is the largest convention in our part of the world. So it's organized by the same people who do the New York Comic Con, by Reed Pop and C2E2. I believe. And so if you're going there, I'll see you there. Pass by my Artist Alley booth. I'll be in booth F30 something. So I hope to see you guys there. And of course, keep listening to TGT. It's one of the best podcasts out there for geekery.
Oh, shucks. That just just for flattering me like that, I'll have you come back on the show. No, that's awesome. I mean, glad that you're having a busy August. I'm glad that you're going to these awesome comic conventions. And one of these days, if I ever get enough funds, I gotta head out west. Far west.
Which part of Canada are you from?
So Windsor, Ontario. So across
That's
from
on
Detroit.
the west or the
No,
east side?
Where Detroit?
Middle.
Hang on.
My geography is horrible.
Oh,
Name
okay.
a state in the U.S. I don't know where it is. If it's not California and New York, I don't know where it is.
Okay, it's technically northeast part of
Canada.
Yeah, well, no, it's actually. Oh gosh, how do you put it? Okay, do you know where Toronto is? Okay, do you know where? What? It's okay. If you look, Google Maps this.
Left side.
No. It's like center. How the hell do you explain the word? Yes, center. It's like center right, center towards the East Coast. So,
okay. So, that's good enough for me.
I'm gonna just Google Maps it to you. It'll be a lot easier. Just it's right here, and then zoom out. There you go.
So you're Windsor, is that right?
Sorry.
Where did you say you were from?
Well, I'm originally from Windsor, Ontario, and I'm about half hour outside of Windsor, along the Great Lakes there. So it's a nice, quiet little area. But I'm heading up the 401 northeast towards Toronto. It's like a 5-hour drive.
Wow, I don't know how you guys do that.
Well,
I hear about comic artists driving for hours to get to like a comic convention. I'm like, wow.
At least it's only 4 hours and not like 12.
Oh yeah, there'd be people who do that, right? They drive for half a day to get to a comic convention. That's crazy.
Easily.
And I respect that, but I don't know if I could do it driving that long. That's crazy.
Well, you'd be hopping from island to island driving, so I mean,
I'd be on boats and planes. That's a bit more relaxing. I'm not the one doing the driving.
Yeah, but you'd have to you have to lug your boxes everywhere,
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. That's true. Through immigration or whatever, and going through the X-ray machines.
He's smuggling books, quick!
It's fantastic.
He's trying to educate people.
These are gifts.
That's what they said the last time. All right. Okay. Now that we've done that, I think that officially ends this show here. Now that we're talking about costumes and education of reading materials. So yeah, see everyone in September once for TGT, as well as the fact that we'll be doing probably this show will be part of my radio broadcasting class at university. So
oh, nice.
Hey, I get to interview people and it's going to be part of the university. I like it either way.
Can I co-host?
I'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen specifically, but for when I hear
okay.
I'll do what I can either way. All right. And okay, yeah, that's it. That's done. We're good. So that ends the show. And yes. Extreme close up.